Hi, everybody. Welcome to Nonprofits. Today, we're going to talk about an interesting and kind of scary article from Newsweek. Um, like any other week in America, we have a screaming hate preacher spreading dangerous ideas. Recently in Tennessee, Pastor Kent Christmas, yes, that seems to be his real name, told his church that the Muslim faith was becoming more successful because they're willing to die for their beliefs. He proceeded to ask God to give Christian men and women this same type of passion, willing to die for their beliefs. So, inside of this vague pseudo call to action, um, it seems like this is a problem for everyone else around those types of people. Um, Given how easy everyone seems to be these days in being influenced by religion or conspiracy theorists to take up different arms in their pursuit of bad ideas. Kelley, you have any thoughts on this? Let's kick us off.
Yeah, well, who would have guessed that another crazy pastor was coming out of Tennessee, right? Does anything good come out of Tennessee? Present company accepted, of course.
I'm gonna say our friend.
Yeah. So my first thought, and you know me, my brain always goes to silly places, but my first thought was onward Christian bombers marching as to war with the bombs of Jesus to kill those that we abhor. But to be fair, he didn't come right out and say we should go strap bombs on and throw yourselves at heathens. It's he really walked around it, and I've been talking about how a lot of people on the extreme right have been using laundered language. You know, it's like they take some words and clean them up, and so they think they've made them acceptable, but we all know what they're doing, and that's what he's done here. Like I said, he didn't come right out and say it, but he came right out and said it. Anybody with a half a brain can see it. He didn't conceal what he was trying to say at all in any way, shape, or form. So I was whenever I see him doing this kind of a weird message, it always comes off to me as making them look dumber than they should look, because they think we're going to fall for this laundered, cleaned up language, right? So Helen, what do you think? I know you've got a lot of thoughts about this.
I always have thoughts. So I don't have a lot to say about someone like this because it's always the same Christian hateful rhetoric we hear all the time. And yeah, he did clean up the language, which you brought up, Kelley, but it's like that plausible deniability thing, like, well, I'm saying horrible things, but but this way, if someone calls me on my shit, I can back it up. I can kind of hide under that guise, and that's what he's doing. And it's really, really dishonest. And again, like, just because he might not strap a bomb onto his chest or get his parishioners to do it and do something terrible doesn't mean they're not going to do something else terrible. Like, there's not like Christian terrorists in this country haven't done other terrible things to promote their faith, like, bomb an abortion clinic. So, it is an issue that we need to have a lot of, I don't know, caution about, because, like, yes, he is saying the thing that we don't want people to do, and he's doing it because of his imaginary sky daddy, and his imaginary sky daddy really likes it if you do violent things, apparently, even though he's the God of love and peace. So yeah, that's worrying. And I really wish people wouldn't spread stuff like this. Like, what happened in church, like, feeding the hungry and teaching kids to do math, like volunteering and stuff? What happened to that stuff? Why are we talking about this? Anyway, SR, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, this is an interesting thing, and it could have something to do with my familiarity with these types of individuals. Like, again, it confuses me sometimes when I speak to people in other parts of the United States, because this isn't normal for them, right? But like preachers like this in my area of the country have definitely been around for a while, although they've picked up a lot over the last couple of years. I wonder though, and I'll throw this to you, Raphael, and then anybody else, of course, that has thoughts on it. Is us talking about this making this more problematic? Should we be reaching out towards more secularist, non-religious, and atheist folk, or should we be reaching out more towards the liberal, marginal Christians? Is that maybe a better focus for us?
Guess it depends on our goal, but I definitely had some of the similar thoughts of like, are we platforming this crazy person? As well as, like you said, these preachers have always been around. There's always been doomsdayer preachers. There's always been people spewing hate everywhere you go. But with the internet, they spread. They become more prevalent. They, the internet's amazing, but it's also dangerous, like everything else that's amazing. It's letting these people reach people everywhere, and who knows, they could influence someone to do something horrible in another country, another state. It doesn't necessarily have to be in Tennessee in his own community. So now I don't know how big of a church this person has, but they have a worldwide reach now. So any thoughts on that, Kelley?
Yeah, I to answer your question, SR, I think we need to reach out to both, and I'll explain why. Obviously, we need to reach out to the secular atheist community because we are that community, and we're the people who are most concerned to hear language like that. However, there is a whole large group of liberal, moderate Christians, as you said, and they don't like to hear this stuff either. There's an organization of churches that have gotten together to fight back against Christian nationalism, as an example. And so we need to get a hold of those people because they're our allies in this fight. And maybe we don't want them around either, but right now let's get them to help us get rid of the really bad ones, right? And then maybe 50 years up the road we can work on being nice and getting rid of them too. But I think we need to reach out to both communities, and we need to show our community that we can ally with theists and get something done too, because there's a lot of people on our side that probably might not be willing to do that at first. So I think that that's important to reach out to both sides. So yeah,
I like that.
Helen, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with this because I have to imagine, like, sometimes atheists get a bad rap, and we have things spread about us that we hate, want to kill children, and we're worshiping the devil, even though I don't know how that got started. But like, there's all these terrible things, like we don't have any morals, all these terrible things that are said about us. And I'm sure the moderate Christians, or any religious group that has a hate group within its with part of its community, isn't going to be super excited about that. And it's like, this is not the religion that I believe in. This is not what Jesus taught, and for me, like, I would rather play ball with those people on top of the secular humanists and be like, hey, maybe we'll have less hate in the world, less violence. Like, let's work towards that. Let's not, yes, you have to find a way to preach your faith. And though I have quibbles with that and problems, I don't think the best way is through violence to scare people into, doing those things. And I understand that this preacher is coming from like a very passionate sort of, place where he's like, well, we have to be just as extreme as other religions, and I'm just like, yeah, but even within the Muslim religion, those people are few.
True.
Those are the extremists. So, and I think he's missing the point. And it comes off to me as racist and like racist and bigoted, and and a lot of problems with this. So it just reads very gross. And I definitely know people that are religious that would not want to be associated, with this type of people. this group, and I'm sure all of you know someone as well that are religious and don't want to be associated with groups like this. What do you think about that, Asar?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you all really touched on something that I was hoping we would, which is the need to reach out, because there are so many believers out there. Believe me, folks. Yes, this guy is from my state, and so is a handful of other people that I just don't want to name because I don't want to give them any more airtime. But there are thousands and thousands, if not millions, of believers in my state that absolutely abhor this type of rhetoric, right? And it's terrible, and I wonder too, because there was so much of it that was, I think, very clearly in a Christian nationalist lens. I mean, how many times did he mention Donald Trump, right? And explicitly saying about his, what his parishioners should do in regards to that, I sometimes, I know this may be a little strange, but sometimes I'm not so sure that the call to action that this preacher gave, that was the violence, is going to be picked up as much as the political call to action that these preachers make. And I wonder what y'all think on that too. Do you think, just at all, I mean, look, I'm not condoning what he's saying, of course, right? I'm not in the slightest, but I'm asking, do you think that we're more likely to see political action associated from this, in that, continuing Christian nationalist thrust that we've seen, or are we more likely to see violence associated with that, or both, I guess? What do you think, Raphael?
So in general, I think the way people look at bad ideas is a spectrum. You're gonna have some of those people that clearly are going to be influenced from like nothing, from 0 to 100. Your hundreds are the people who are like, I'm gonna blow some shit up. But I hope maybe is maybe more appropriate that those people are in the minority, even within the spectrum of people going to be influenced by this type of screaming in a church. So I'm thinking he's going to have an influence for sure. I just don't know how many, or if at all, they're going to have any type of violent influence. But I do agree that I think he's going to have a huge influence on people's voting habits. Because everyone who's too chicken shit to like strap a bomb to themselves, which hopefully is everyone. What else are they going to do? They're going to vote. They're going to protest. They're going to show up at pizza parlors because they read something on 4chan or whatever. So there's like the spectrum that I see from this type of you take one bad idea and you take it a lot of places. It's kind of like, holy books. You can read it a lot of different ways. Yeah. And in that sense, it's kind of scary, because I think he does and will continue to have some kind of influence on people at large. Kelley, what do you make of any of that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That is a problem, and it's a big problem with a lot of ministers today. And I think the IRS should be looking at it more, to be pulling away that nonprofit status from a lot of churches, especially ones like this. I do want to point out though, and because you did mention that, there was a lot of Trump in this article, and it was a lot of it was the journalist putting that Trump in there, and Trump was actually mentioned 13 times. I think once it was in relation to the minister, and the rest of it was, well, this guy supports Trump, and Trump is bad, and Trump is bad, and Trump is bad, and Trump. And I wanted more information about what was going on with the minister. And I've mentioned before that I was the English major. I minored in journalism, and I was just like really so mad at this article, because I wasn't getting the information I wanted, and I was getting more stuff that I didn't want. So I thought the person writing it definitely had an agenda. And I want to point out that in the original quote, the guy did mention that it was young men we needed to go out there and strap bombs. They'd be at young men we need to be willing to go out there and kill themselves. He wasn't talking about the old man like he was. I just wanted to mention that, Helen.
That's weird.
It's a little sexist, Kelley. He didn't call for women to do it either. So, you know.
True. We want. No, I'm not going to say that. It was bad.
So, hashtag equality?
Yeah.
I don't know. But besides that, yeah, I did notice the Trump rhetoric was a little much. And yes, there are people that are part of those the extreme right that, you know, have that Christian nationalism vibe, and they like Trump, and they think that somehow Trump and their religion go together like peanut butter and jelly, you know. And that's really bothersome, because you can be a religious person and not like Trump, you know, or you can like Trump and not be religious. You know, the people come in all, you know, colors and opinions and everything like that. So I guess I really wish that he did focus more on what the preacher was saying, because that was the thing that we were all had a lot of concern with this, you know. That's why we're talking about it. And yes, there has been more calls to violence. There's been more calls for action since when Trump was president, and since he's been out of the White House. There's been a little bit of a lull on the rhetoric, but that I think that's because consequences have happened, you know. But that doesn't mean people aren't going on message boards and spreading hateful things and hateful ideas. So, you know, I would hope that the language like this would dull down, you know. But it seems every single time we do this show, there's some preacher saying something really stupid. So,
yeah, it feels more and more regular, unfortunately.
Yeah,
lately.
it does. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Kelley, do you have any final thoughts on this?
I wanted to go back a little to revisit it. Something I mentioned before about cleaning up the language, because, you know, he really, what he said was, and this is paraphrased, very much paraphrased. I didn't say you should go be a suicider bomber. I simply said Islam's growing fast and it's doing damn good. And then Muslims, they fanatically kill themselves. And we need men, brave young men who are willing to do that. I never said they should do that, just that they should be willing to do that. And I'm wondering to myself, to what end? To what end do you need men to go kill yourself to show that Christianity is right? Yeah. Isn't that kind of against the religion? Going out and killing people and blowing up yourself and other people? It just didn't make any sense to me at all. And I had a real problem with the whole thing. Obviously, it just doesn't seem like the guy was really taking his own faith seriously. And I just wanted to mention that at the end, and that was it. Because if the guy was a real minister, I don't understand how he could be preaching this stuff.
Yeah. A little strange to me too. But thanks so much for watching, everybody. And if you want to hear more from the nonprofits, click here.